Okay, we're going to call together the Special Ed Alternative Ed and Early Childhood Subcommittee, Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Please call the roll.
Mr. Agia?
Here.
Mr. Corey?
Here.
Ms. Ferrara? Here.
Everyone rise and salute the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Do we have any citizen input time? We have no citizen input time. I want to ask that we take a couple of items out of the order so that the staff that is here can present what they need to, and then they can head home to their families. So the first one is going to be this last 3.08 update on special education staffing. Assistant Superintendent Obenchain.
Sure. So at the start of the year, we had 65 open special education positions. We have filled 12 of those positions. Out of the 53 positions that remain open, 11 of them are inclusion teachers, 14 of them are substantially separate classroom teachers, 18 of them are paraprofessionals that work in our substantially separate classrooms, and then 7 others are non-classroom staff. So 2 team chairs, some SLPs, and a psychologist, so those types of. We also have a few staff on leave that are not represented in our vacancies. We have started to transition our annual meetings from our teachers to our team chairs, and we are monitoring on a monthly basis what those meetings are looking like and to make sure that we have equity amongst everyone for how cases are assigned.
Any questions specifically?
Just want to know the overall health of the department. You guys are getting it done. I know there's still some vacancies, and so we're trying to fill in those gaps. I realize. How's it all flowing?
I mean, I think that everybody is doing the best they can every day, right? So every day there are challenges when it comes to staffing or students and their needs, but again, I think that we have a great team of people that are committed to doing the work and supporting our students and helping each other. So I think that there have just layers of support in each building for special education.
Have you had enough support with the adjustment counselors?
The adjustment counselors are a big part of the support that
They're working hard for it.
Yeah, of course. They don't work directly for me, but they are, working with our students daily.
As far as recruiting new talent, are you guys actively trying to recruit? You got, I'm not talking about job fairs, I'm talking about maybe some PR work with the colleges around or anything like that?
Yep, so we do have, Mr. Lally isn't here, but we do have a couple options to try to even recruit and retain staff. So we have some coursework through Bridgewater, I can't remember which one it is, or UMass Dartmouth. Some coursework that our own staff can take if they're working in their special education population and they want to gain their skills. We also have regular kind of communication with colleges in the area to try to send us candidates. We also I've offered on several occasions to go out and speak to potential special education candidates, but it's been rough. Even the agencies, I mean, we're very fortunate that the committee, authorized us to reach out to some agencies, and even the agencies struggle with the teaching population. We've only been able to recruit probably 3 or 4 teachers from the agencies, and the rest of the staffing has been from paraprofessionals. But we are looking at the paras that we are getting that have bachelor's degrees and seeing if they're interested in kind of, pursuing special education so that we can help them get their certification and they can stay with us.
If you move a para into a teacher's position, of course their pay is bumped up, right?
There's the contract language, I think, talks about, yes, something per period. Yes, $10 per period. Yes, and they do have, one of the things we are working on now is a supervision plan for those paras, and that way they understand what support they're gonna get. So who is the certified special education teacher that is going to support them with lesson planning, just classroom management, just questions on IEPs. And then we do have some of our current special ed teachers supporting IEP writing, progress reports, but they're collecting all the data.
So one more question. As a result of all of this, are the class sizes slightly larger in the special ed classroom, whether it be inclusion or subset?
So, I mean, all of the classes across the district honestly are pretty full, but so our substantially separate classrooms across the district tend to be at the highest number they can be, which is around 12 students, between 10 and 12 on average. We are working really hard with our elementary school and even some of our middle school kids to give them more opportunities to participate in the general education setting. But the general education classrooms are very large across the district.
Thank you, I yield.
The 14 separate classrooms, if those are being filled by a para, then does that mean we're short 30-something paras? With those numbers that sort of add up?
So, I'm sorry, so 11 inclusion, 14 substantially separate teachers, and 8, are they all filled by paraprofessionals? Yes, but the 18 paraprofessional positions are outside of the positions that move to teaching roles.
Right, so that there's more openings in paras than what we see because they're creating.
Yeah, because
You
if
can't count it twice, so.
yeah, we're not counting it twice, yes.
It just,
Right.
that's a concerning number, obviously.
And honestly, we started the year off with 65 and we were able to fill a bunch and then people just keep leaving on us. So, agencies, I've had a conversation with the agencies, I need them to be very transparent on, the types of students they're gonna work with, the expectations when they're there, like we do have students that require toileting and that's just part of the job. And then they get here, they say yes, they get here and they don't wanna do that. So that's been a challenge too, is when we recruit the staff, even from the agencies, and then they say, no thanks.
The para-pro test is, to be eligible to be a para. I wonder if when you look at trying to find that, they're all over the place and you had to drive to wherever. Is there a way that we can help facilitate that internally? Because it's a deterrent.
Actually, I think that Brian Raposo and Brian Lally were looking to do a train the trainer. So go and getting some of our staff trained to be trainers ready to get the kid, the staff ready to take the para-pro test. And then from there, seeing what we need, seeing if we can become a host site for the test.
Yeah,
but first we want to we want to give paras the confidence to take the test. And so this,
people literally have to drive to Lakeville
I know.
to get the test, which is something that doesn't make sense. Right.
So one more question, Lori. So back in the day, we had a program called the JET program. Madam Superintendent, is that still active? So we're trying to draw within the ranks of paraprofessionals to maybe become certified teachers.
Continue to do.
Yeah.
I don't have a number on it this year to know how many people we have enrolled, but we've had years with more people, we've had years with less people. I don't have a count for this year, but we can put that for you.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about the count per se. I just want to know that the effort's still being made for recruiting so we can build our ranks. So that's where I'm coming from. Thank you very much.
The question I had on the annual meetings, I thank you for the information that we're transitioning to have that be done all by the team chairs. And I know the committee added several team chairs. There's a few vacancies, but I think you're working on filling those as actively. But
And the 2 vacancies for those meetings, the supervisors are running those. So we're not putting additional meetings onto our current team chairs. The supervisors have taken over.
so this has been an ongoing thing that we hear about over and over. And in a public meeting, I want to state for the record that we have said all along that the team chair's job is to do the meetings. We also believe that if there's 180 days in the school year, and let's say 2 meetings per day, it's 360 meetings per year. So I want to set for the public to hear, the TV to hear, and anybody else to hear, that at the end of the day, the team chairs need to do the work that's here. We expect them to do it the right way. And we don't need to keep hearing at every regular meeting that the numbers are unsustainable and we just can't do it. So this is the meeting that I wanted to check on. That process has been in place for over a year. It's time, and I appreciate your support, superintendent's support on that, and the other assistant superintendents. We have to just move on from this. But we can't have every single meeting, have somebody get up to the podium on citizen input time and tell us that they can't do 2 meetings a day. It's unacceptable. So as far as I'm concerned, we want to set the record straight. Any other questions for Ms. Olenchek? As we said, you're free to go and have a great supper.
Thank you.
The next one I'd like to move is the RPA discussion. So Mr. Riley, and we did receive a 2-pager if anybody has it. Is it all right to just pass it on, or do you have anything to say ahead of time, or just right to Mr. Riley?
Just, yeah.
Kyle, because you're up in here so they can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you.
So thanks for having us. Definitely a different start to the year for us at RPA this year. After that discussion, we came into the year last year, 13 positions unfilled. We are completely filled with all our positions at RPA this year. It made me think as I was listening to it that I didn't go into the budget season this past year saying just give me more positions. I'm not even sure what we knew what we needed at that point because we were short so much. So we had culinary para, but didn't ask for much after that. Now we're getting to the point of really seeing what the need is in the building. We're seeing a pretty good rise in attendance, but it's gradual, not significant, so we're going to keep working on that. The support from Dr. Brownhard on Tuesday mornings, we talk about kids directly, how do we support kids directly. It's the ongoing work that we do 5 days a week, but we really pinpointed on it Tuesday morning with our staff. So we're about 172 students right now. If you see the numbers on your page that I provided for you, 7th grade is very small. It starts to decline from there. We ended up with a pretty new middle school for us. Out of those 23 kids, 21 of them are brand new to us. We had our 8th graders going up to 9th grade, but we only had a few kids that were in 7th grade going to 8th grade. So it's a new bunch for us. We've divided up the school in 3 different sections now, as opposed to 2 in the years past. 7th and 8th grade are on the first floor with the nurses, cafeteria, gymnasium. They are on the first floor all day. Everything they need is down there. They have a team that supports them down there, and a good team. And so we're seeing really good numbers with attendance and progress with them. On my floor, 3rd floor as you come in, is the 11th and 12th graders. Really a need for them to be on that floor for guidance support. If they're going out to get jobs, leaving early, it's where they'd access the entrance exit. And upstairs is now just 9 to 10, before it was 7, 8, 9. So as we group these kiddos together, we meet their needs better. And so it seems to be behaviorally working much better. Not that we don't still have our trials. Like, we still have struggles here and there, but I think we're just attacking it in a better organized way. We are getting kids what they need. We move some people around to make sure that we do have special education support. We are somewhere between 35 and 40. End of last year, like 41, we're dipped a little bit lower. So we do have a lot of special ed needs that we're supporting kids through. I know you wanted to talk about that. You had some questions in regards to culinary and People's Inc.
Yes, it's page 2 of it. It talks about People Inc. I think that would be just a quick summary from you. Culinary is one that I've been on since the start of the year, trying to get an update on that. So if you could get on at least those 2, and I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, I'm going to let Drew jump in with me here because he's been sitting through some of those meetings with reorganization of People's Inc. We started off this year really talking about job readiness, workforce, and having People Inc. have their own classroom where we support them with a guidance counselor throughout the class. To be quite honest, we realized it wasn't working in a few classes right away, and we changed the model a couple of times just because they needed more behavioral support there from our staff. Something they wasn't in their wheelhouse. It was more in our wheelhouse to do, so we supported that. Drew, can you speak a little bit to the?
Yeah, so our main goal for this year in our partnership with People Inc. is Tier 1 support and services. So reaching all the students at RPA, these kind of like foundational job readiness or workforce development skills. So the way it's looking right now, Principal Riley mentioned that we've retooled a couple times. But in 11th and 12th grade, it's a standalone class for the 11th and 12th graders, and in small groups, they're getting kind of individualized supports on building resumes, applying for colleges or jobs. So that's 2 periods a day in the Community Engagement Center. And in 9th and 10th, we started the year that way. We retooled and are now going to be pushing into the social studies classroom once a week. Once bi-weekly, so the 9th graders will get a lesson or a workshop every day. The 10th graders will get a lesson or a workshop.
What type of lessons are the 9th and 10th graders getting?
We're working off of a curriculum called Leadership Leadership U. That it's a lot of life skills and workforce readiness skills, communication, resilience, goal setting.
Are they being graded?
They're not being graded right now. No, in the 9th, 10th.
Because they're not being graded, do they hold it in enough esteem to absorb the coursework, or are they just blowing it off?
When we originally had them in the CEC for the first 3 weeks of the year, we had a lot of behavior challenges. We had some disengagement. We had about half the students who were interested in buying in, but some of the other students were making it challenging. It's really why we met with them to retool the model. And hopefully, this will be a better environment.
So as you retool the model, you're going to continually monitor it and refine it as needed?
Correct. Yes, we have a bi-weekly meeting on Thursday mornings with People Inc. Just to talk about the curriculum and supports. Also, we're developing a speaker series where various professions are going to come into RPA to speak to students. We're going to start the year with 7 and 8, a specific speaker series for 7 and 8, a separate speaker series for 9, 10, and another separate speaker series for 11 and 12. We're also working on getting students outside of RPA on job visits or industry tours.
Internships?
We haven't gotten to internships yet at this point. At this point, we're working with kids on the foundational skills, building a resume, interview skills in the CEC, and also working on trying to get kids out to different industries, whether it's Toyota, Dartmouth, whether it's a restaurant if they're interested in culinary, or a firehouse.
How about the technical institutes, UTI, places like that?
Yeah, we just started having conversations with the electrical union to come in, and typically in the fall we have a career fair, which is really a speaker series in different classrooms where students can sign up. So we're working on setting that up either as a one-day event or a multi event where every couple of weeks a group of speakers will come in and students could opt in to different to hear different.
Is Durfee After Dark still hooked up with Diamond?
Durfee After Dark is not hooked up with Diamond, but in our new cohort, we have 2 RPA students who just enrolled in the cosmetology program that just started this week. So we have CT After Dark in cosmetology and construction, new cohorts that just launched. As a cosmetology just launched, and the new cohort of construction will be launching soon. And we're actively recruiting both Durfee and RPA students for those programs.
It's a game changer for 2 girls to get into cosmetology. They're so excited about it.
Yeah.
Just for
A couple of questions. So right now, obviously the kitchen isn't done yet, right? Clearly, that's what it says. So what's the holdup right now? I mean, obviously it's appliances haven't been delivered. Is that us? We've paid for them? Do you have
I don't
money
know
for
who's
them?
paid for what, but
Do we know why?
appliances, we've had 3 appliances delivered. One was a stove, and 2 were a freezer and refrigerator. I think there's still a base for that still to come in, a couple of other components to come in before it's not. They did complete plumbing, well, not completed, 90% completed plumbing, and them so far. That's about it.
Okay. So they're cooking in the classroom?
They're doing simple recipes. We actually had an open house last week. The kids made jams for a charcuterie board. They learned how to cut cheeses in different ways, that kind of stuff, because we don't have the capacity to do something bigger. But things like that, they're making
I
stuff.
think making jams is pretty cool, but don't you need a stove to do that, or am I mistaken?
Maybe a hot plate here and there.
Okay. Okay, so the question about that maybe would be better to be asked by whoever puts in the stoves, or, I'm just curious, is it just me or has it been a while? It's been done, right, like
It's
maybe
been a
it's
while.
so I don't mean to just keep asking, but maybe I'm asking the wrong person. Should I be asking Kenny, who's responsible for cooking up that kitchen?
I believe everything's been ordered that needs to be ordered. I believe we paid the bill.
Okay,
And I believe that we've been told that it is literally like in a warehouse waiting to be delivered, but that's been weeks.
Right.
So,
yeah, okay. We could just check. I hate to see the kids missing out on that experience. You know what I mean? And then you said speaker series. We're talking about speaker series, Drew. Are these just employers that are coming in, like career speakers, or is this tech schools, or is it both?
The plan is for it to be both. It hasn't started yet for this school year. In our last meeting with People Inc., we talked about they surveyed the students in different career industries that they were interested in. So we have a list, and People Incorporated is starting the reach out process, and we met with Mass Hire as well to use them as a resource to bring folks in.
And it continues to grow in the sense, like, we had United Way, we were lucky enough to be recipients of the Teacher's Closet.
Yeah.
Schools in the
That's
city.
fantastic.
And during that, they had their first board meeting United Way at our building. And so I got to come in and talk to them how much it meant to us and all those things. And like 3 people from the board said, we speak in school. So it's going to grow as we go. One of the best, 2 of the best, I think, speakers or speaking series that we had. One was a minority female plumber. So the kids could really like, okay, I think we was too. Like, really,
Yeah.
you could see that light bulbs go off. And the other one brought back 8 previous students who had graduated and gone on to careers of their own that were sitting in the same seats that students were prior to. So I think that was hit them deep. Like,
Those are always the best speakers for sure. But I guess my line of questioning was sort of about, do we have not only technical schools, but like BCC, somebody who represents a 4-year traditional college. We also have that as well, correct? I'm just out, yeah?
Yeah, there's ECC specifically does on-site days, at RPA,
Okay.
where missing counselors are on-site and develop on-the-spot admissions, or BCC Palooza, where students can kind of cycle around, apply, meet with a financial aid counselor. That hasn't happened yet, but it typically happens, in the late winter or the spring. We also have getting the 11th and 12th graders set up with Aspire, which is the financial aid support, so that they have text-based support. Our Aspire College Affordability Advisor is going in either to English or social studies classrooms to present some information on financial aid, and also encourage students to fill out the survey so that they can get the text-based support and also sign up for appointments.
We had about 31 students participating at the end of last year for FAFSA.
Yeah.
Actually, out of what is 60, I think
Yeah.
so about 50% of the kids.
So good. Yeah, that was about it. The only thing I think is maybe I'm hoping that maybe the kind of resistance to the sort of job skill training, maybe perhaps too, it's a little bit of summer's over, I'm back at school to begin with situation. I don't know what class you put me in. I'm not gonna love it at first, maybe, let's hope, because it is so important. But anyway, thank you for the work you both do.
Yeah, one more, Mr. Riley. So what's the referral process looking like from the middle schools to RPA and from the high school to RPA?
I'm going to let Amy take that, but only because she's done such a great job with it. We have really streamlined kids coming in and the plan for kids coming back on how we're tracking kids now on having good days, good weeks, meeting with them on Fridays. And I think, again, I'll let Dr. Farmer talk about it, but really the referral package stuff that are online and are shared, we can get them in a blink now. We don't have to go searching for them in the paper. Like, we can get a quick connect and we're on the kids' referral, where they're from, why they got there, what we've done with them, to go after that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we've certainly strengthened the process to have it be more systemic. I think for us also, we're looking for stability in the start of the school year. And so as part of our communication in the spring with the schools, was that we really want to refer students to start the year. That if kids are in a place that they need a different setting, we don't want to disrupt RPA when they get going, and we don't want to have kids being transferred in the first few months of school. So we did a lot of transfers at the end of last year. We met with families, we had tours, and we took care of all of that work over the summer so that the first term of this year could be stable for all parties involved. And so we will come back to revisit the transfer at the marking periods, which is what has been our communication with both families and students who are looking to either return back to Durfee, return back to their setting middle school, and or the reverse, if Durfee is looking to send students who are struggling and not making ends meet up at the high school. So at this point, we're not really doing referrals currently right now unless it's a one-off situation to support. We're really looking to have them be at the marking of terms or the progress report or term period, just so that it's also a grading window, we can transfer grades at that time and have a time frame that everybody can work within, and we don't have kids randomly showing up at the doors and we're not prepared to take them in. Any new students to the district, that's a different story. We have a process that we follow and that we have been following for the last year, that any new students who come to the district that would be eligible for RPA, those are the students that are being added to the team and into the school, but those are just one-off. It's not a regular steady flow of kids being added at this time.
September.
If I could ask Dr. Stevens, what's it looking like in the junior vice principal's office, the senior vice, any kid that might need a referral for something like RPA, what's it looking like there?
So there's a freshman office and then there are 3 10 to 12 house offices, and currently one of Mr. Granfield's tasks, if you will, and our new director of SEL and support services has been to really work on refining a tier 3 system of support. What does that look like for students? So I wouldn't say there's a particular student screaming right now that this isn't working. I mean, there's a small handful that I would say he's initiating his efforts with, if you will. But if you're asking if it looks like there's a high need right there right now, I would say no.
Thank you.
Couple quick questions. The 2 tutors that people like asked, who were they? The 2 tutors.
We have Campbell, God, I'm not going to know the last names, I apologize. They have 2 English and math, Campbell, and the young lady's name is.
They've been there all year, so they service the kids
Yes, they have.
all year.
Sorry.
What I would ask is that somebody on the team goes back and looks at the meeting that we had previously with People Inc. and what the committee was told, subcommittee was told, and if there's anything that's the same or different, we need to just know. So I don't want to ask a bunch of questions about, well, they said at this meeting that this happened, that happened, because they presented to us at the subcommittee.
We have a contract with them that has very clear objectives for the programmatic outcomes that was not in place prior to that. So we are referring to the contract in all of our work with People Inc. because it clearly spells out the goals and objectives as it relates to the different grade levels in the tutoring. So
When you
is that
look
what
at,
you're referring to?
no, I was referring to the comment about that we had to move, they had to do something different than what they originally said. So at the subcommittee, we were told the reason why they were getting 120,000 was because this person was going to have a full week caseload, they were going to be X amount of days, they were going to work in the classroom with the teacher, things like that. So just if there's anything that's different and it changed for a good reason, just lay it out there so we're not, well, they said one thing and then we doing another. That's my only, I'm not suggesting that they're not doing it, but clearly something needed to be tweaked and we should at least know about it.
I think the process changed, but the people haven't.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. So when I talk about the 120,000, why I was adamant about it is because we have a variety of different community partners. And there's really, I'll say, in my opinion, no rhyme or reason why one gets 120,000 and one gets 40,000. So I personally feel like if they're getting 120,000 to service X, we need to drill that down to figure it out. Because if we have another agency that's doing stuff that is worthy of a lot more, why do they get 40 and they get 120? So that's why I'm kind of being a hound about the money. The kitchen is a real problem for me. I asked at the beginning, this goes back, as Ms. Barrera said, over a year ago. We were told they hired somebody and then we didn't have the kitchen ready. That was over a year ago. I find it totally unacceptable, and I'm not blaming anybody at the table or not. All I know is it's unacceptable to have over 1 year of not getting this done. Then we were told we were gonna get it done, that we were gonna deliver the stuff at the start of the year, we were gonna hire the teacher, pay the teacher as a teacher, hire an aide, and get it done. And then we still don't have it. This is unacceptable, and I'm not sure that anybody thinks it's acceptable, but there can be no excuse. So I think we need a solid report on who's the issue, when was it ordered, including the backup. Because quite frankly, I don't believe a word anybody says anymore when they say it's gonna be here on Friday. Because if you told me it was gonna be, somebody told the superintendent on Friday before school started, it was gonna get delivered. Somebody did. Superintendent, to her credit, told me, don't go for the interview, don't go for the meeting until Friday it's coming in. So then on Monday, I said, well, the school year's starting, what are we gonna do? So she tried her best, but somebody's given her false information or wrong information. And quite honestly, I have no tolerance for it. We need to know where the money's coming from, how much money it costs, and who ordered it. Because if you ordered something and it didn't come in for a year, I'm not so sure we should do business with these people anymore. But I get really frustrated with it. But I appreciate you being upfront about it. You can't lie, it is what it is. Superintendent's been upfront, the same thing, just it doesn't do us any good. But I'm glad that it seems going well. The only two other requests I would make is, I think there was gym equipment last year, we said we was gonna get moved into the RPA from some other place, and if we can get an update on that from the committee. And at one point, they were gonna do doors, windows, and the big major project. And I believe we were told it was supposed to start at the start of the year. Now we're 6 weeks into the school year. Do you have any windows or doors, any work over there?
Yeah. About 8 months ago, they tried a couple doors out to see if that was working for us, and that was the last doors we received.
What have you been working for, I'm sorry?
In the sense of how we can access them, so they're going to be swipe cards, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
how to keep it safe, how to keep
For
kids out
safety
there,
and security purposes.
Yeah.
And then the windows are all around.
and the windows are all around.
And if the doors work for you?
Yeah.
So you still have them,
We have those 2 doors.
but we just don't have the other ones?
I think,
Those work, but we need more.
I think they're originally going to be everywhere, all doors replaced, all windows replaced. Is why I heard from that
Do
point.
they need to be replaced?
They do.
Okay.
So if we can get an update, just saying where that process is, so we know. And I thank you, Mr. Riley. Your
What was your first question?
gym equipment.
Oh, gym equipment, so yes. We got the gym equipment from Durfee High School. It was housed for a little bit of time when we built Durfee at RPA. Sometime at the end of last year, we asked them to move it up. We'll make sure it's every maintenance time. Got a moving crew to move it up. It's full circuit in there, kids have access to it.
Maybe if you just take pictures of something, send it to the superintendent,
Yeah, sure.
that is a good thing, so let's give credit where it's due. And I would say, unless you want to stick around, you're free to go too and go back to your family.
On that note, I'll salute it.
All right, thank you. Dr. Bernhardt, so I give you, if you'd like to figure out which one, maybe the ones that are most important, if we have guests here, maybe do those first. If we have internal things, we could potentially kick those to the next meeting, but I'll rely on you to.
If we could start with the Durfee High School stuff, I know folks need to get to former Superintendent Maria Ponce's father's wake. So just out of courtesy for timing of that, if we could.
Can you just
Credit
articulate
recovery,
which one, the first one?
3.01,
All right, sounds good.
and then we'll go in 3.02, so that the Durfee folks.
Roll it.
So we are looking to expand upon our current credit recovery options at Durfee High School. Particularly those that
You will, the mic is right, yeah, that's the problem. Yes.
Can you just articulate, is this one with the pink on it? Yeah.
All right, so
Go ahead.
So we are looking to expand upon our current credit recovery options at Durfee High School, particularly related to a live teaching option. We're looking to do this by way of completing or creating an opportunity for students to complete certain elective courses for recovered core content credit. So that would be in lieu of the elective credit that would otherwise be earned. So hypothetically, what you could picture is, say, a student fails ELA 1 or ELA 2, they could take an elective course, Thrillers and Chillers, Heroes and Villains, Media Studies, where power standards from those original ELA courses would be embedded, but instead of taking the elective for elective credit, it would be taken to recover that course. So the premise is that we currently don't have a live teaching option. What we realize is that we have a very diverse student population with a lot of diverse needs, and that we need a live teaching option. Edgenuity, while it works for some students, the online platform or the computer platform does not work for all students. So the face-to-face element is just kind of a critical element, if you will, that is missing. So I guess I can pause there and see if there are any specific questions.
Mr. Corey?
I know that you're facing a diverse population. When you say the live teaching, in elective courses like thrillers and chillers, are the kids doing writing? Are they doing critical writing? So they have to spell properly, they have to punctuate properly, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, because you know, across the board, writing skills have suffered. So that's what I'm concerned about. Their writing skills need to be at a certain standard. Have you already instituted this, or is this something that you want to move into?
No, this is something that we want to well into.
The teachers on board with it?
Early stages, but definitely something that I feel strongly about teaching.
Okay. Thanks, I yield.
Did
Mr. Burrow?
they already have it from that? Did we just haven't looked into it? Or?
No, this option doesn't exist in any of the content. What we're looking at initially is social studies and ELA,
ELA.
just as a vantage point
Sure.
to see what the impact is.
Another question.
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
It begs the question, Dr. Stevens, in social studies, as a former social studies teacher, I think it's so critical that children, especially the children of certain minority groups that reside here, have a handle on the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution and matters as such. Are they getting those foundational studies in the social studies classes? Yeah. Can you expound on that, Jess?
Sure. Relative to this proposal?
No,
Just
no,
in
no, just off, I'm being off the cuff now.
Yeah, so there's a civics project that we invested quite a bit of resources into, but we're very committed, as you are, to making sure that the students leave with the ability to properly engage in the society in which their voice is valued and that they can contribute in a positive manner. So I feel very confident that we're doing a good job on this one.
So I know, I'm gonna go back many years and No Child Left Behind was instituted. I know that when social studies wasn't part of the MCAS regimen, I know that student interest in social studies across the board dropped down because the students themselves reasoned, well, I don't need this to graduate, so there was less emphasis. As a former social studies teacher, I just think it's very important to reinstitute the emphasis of social studies in our curriculum work because of what's going on in our country, and to develop that national pride of what is an American, who is an American, and what can we do to be better Americans. And I think that starts in a really good social studies curriculum. That's why I ask these questions. Thank you, Ayo.
So the only question I have, I'm assuming that this looks like students are already going to be registered for thrillers and chillers,
Yeah.
and you're just going to give them credit. But then did they double credit? Did they get credit for the other class? So how does that?
So if in this chart right here, what it would be changed to is the P or F for the core content class that they need.
But they won't get the other one. So they, technically, you're still deficient 3 credit if it's a 3 credit. Or you're going to be deficient that credit for thrillers or elective.
They'd have
But
to
you're
take
trying to skip
they'd have to take something.
like something else later on.
Just like students who
So
are
you can't take more than the regular classes. What I'm saying. So
right.
if they were recovering credit, you could earn a full day of classes and earn 7 credits. And this was the 8th credit. You still only can earn 7. So you
Sure.
at some point have to do something
Well, but
else.
as we know, the total number of credits that kids can earn over 4 school years is over the number of credits that are needed for graduation. As we know, most kids, if they pass all their classes, they could technically almost be selling credits by senior year because they don't need the credits, right? So for these kiddos particularly, it's not so much a credit need, but it's a course need. And in some cases, it might be a credit need, and they'll have to figure out where those credits get made up down the road. But we don't want to be putting juniors and seniors into freshman classes, and if the online platform isn't working for them, leveraging some of these junior, senior electives for the credit for the core will help support those kids in still making progress towards graduation.
And if you, somewhere in here talked about summer school, I think that's a bigger discussion of what summer school is and what it's not. I happen to agree with what you're saying, that it doesn't duplicate what, but we keep on saying summer school, so I think as the year goes on, I think we should revamp that too, because this, to me, this makes sense, doing it this way. The only thing I would ask is that, this says 1/24/24, is that a mistake at the top?
That was just the date that the proposal was initially sent, is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. It was just the copy of what was sent.
We have been talking about it since last winter, but it wasn't something that was included in the program of studies at that time, because that was already in draft, and
You
so
understand my
we-
question, like,
Sure.
in my mindset on timing, when I see this, I'm like, well, we just did a program of studies and start the school year, might have made sense to do this now instead of 6 weeks into the school year, but it is what it is.
I think part of what happens is, when certain issues arise, you come up with a solution, you propose it, doesn't necessarily fit at that time, and my speculation is that that's what happened with this, but I just.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine, so can we get a motion to refer this positive?
Yeah.
Made,
So
motion's made, seconded, all in favor, aye, opposed, so voted. Thank you very much. And do you have another one?
Well, not necessarily another one, but they are the leaders of Durfee High School, and Evolve right now is at Durfee High School, so I think we can just move on to that next agenda item, just so we're all on the same. Perfect.
Is that what agenda item is?
It's a 306.
So just moving on, yep. So in your packet, you'll notice a couple of documents, as it relates to the Evolve competency-based grading. Jan Schweitzer, our program lead, is not with us tonight, she has pneumonia, so unfortunately we'll be pitch hitting without her. But this has been in discussion in Evolve over the last school year, and Brian Michalezek, who is our district tech lead with Aspen X2, our tech, Brian, what's your? Brian's been helping take the lead through X2 with figuring out how we can help bring our report cards and our progress reports to be aligned with the grading that takes place in Evolve. As we know, Evolve is a competency-based grading system. The students take the transformative learning experiences. 45% of their grade is calculated through the assignments that they do as they navigate through the module. Do-nows are 5%, and then the final project, which is the culmination of their learning in the competency-based program, is really worth the most for their grading. But right now, they are still in the process of being graded with A's, B's, C's, and D's on the traditional Durfee progress report and report card. And so the team took time with Brian to really cull out what are those competencies, but also what are the attainments that kids are working towards within each competency, and which ones go with each course, because not every course measures every competency or attainment. And so Brian has done some work with Aspen as well as with Evolve to be able to bring us to a place that we're bringing before you with our sample report cards, where we can really drill down to the skills that kids are developing, as well as recognizing that in Evolve, kids don't fail their TLEs. If they are not completed by an end of a term, they receive a not yet grade so that they continue to make progress each term until that TLE is completed. And so we've captured a way, and Brian can speak to the specifics of the documentation in report cards, so that even if kids are not yet in that not yet place, that will be able to be captured in the report card, as well as kids that are passing the courses and moving on. We've come up with a way to be able to grade aligned with competencies and attainments.
Can you just summarize quickly in the effort of time? Because this would have to be something that the whole committee would have to see anyway, so just trying to condense the time, but what exactly are you looking for here? Just to switch to a competency-based grading period? That's the difference.
For the high school.
For the high school.
For the Evolve program.
Progress report and report card.
That's basically what you're asking for. So, I don't have many questions for now. I think you spelled it out pretty clearly. I always thought that that's what was happening anyway, because they do TLEs and then they say, well, you did this and you're gonna, whether it was an A, T, C, or D, we didn't really even know about that, to be honest.
Well, the report card they've been getting has been the regular A to F report card. Now we will be able to report out to the parents the A to F, which is required for Durfee for grading the state, but also the competencies, the attainments, and
You're still gonna get the old one, you're gonna additional.
maybe so the high school is the A to F, which is I'll call it chocolate soft serve. The elementary have been doing the rubric, which is vanilla soft serve. The Bob now has a twist cone of both. That's both.
But you can't do without the other one because of the state regulations.
Correct. So we
So they're taking courses in the regular Durfee part, like they're taking, say, a vocational course or say language, they'll have the regular year after, then they have 4 or 5 courses they can take throughout the year, and Evolve will have the competencies as well as the year after the course.
So,
Questions, Mr. Corey?
just have a question for Dr. B.
Yes.
The coursework in Evolve fits the rubrics of our standards, right? So it's all within that. And so the kids are being embedded in those rubrics and have to progress, from level to level to level.
Yes, and I can speak to this firsthand after attending a professional development session over the summer, where I was able to take part in the TLE work. I spent about 4 or 5 hours with Jan up at a session, and I went to participate so that I could really understand it. And I was really, really blown away at the level of rigor, but also relevance that the courses brought out of and were expecting of the students. The work was not at all easy, and quite honestly, I felt the reverse, that I was very impressed with the level of rigor and expectation, but could definitely see the independence, an independent opportunity. Also, kids being able to make progress on their own time, which is a big piece of Evolve as well. And then looking at some of the life skills we talked about earlier, where kids have to present and they have to advocate and they have to argue their points, leveraging real factual information and the research that they've done on the projects. And so I was really excited about the model, and so much so is that, a little bit separate to this, we are exploring how we can expand Evolve. I think there's an opportunity. As you know, last year we started looking and researching about a virtual high school. We paused in our movement on that last spring. There was too much other stuff going on and we weren't in a position to recommend it forward. But as we looked at the TLEs and we looked at some of the work that Evolve did over COVID, we really recognized that this might be a nice way for us to extend some true alternative programming to create a hybrid Evolve program. Right now, we've got about 15 to 16 students who would otherwise be kids that would land in our homebound or medically excused program, and or a few kids who formally dropped out of Evolve,
Right.
that we're looking to come back because of this hybrid approach, and we're finding some early success. So we look forward to coming to the committee in future months with a potential proposal for extending Evolve to be more inclusive of both an in-school model like we currently have, as well as the potential for a hybrid model as we look to and potentially recommend that Evolve become their own school, so that we can continue to expand our alternative programming and offer a programming that doesn't necessarily live at RPA, but could be an extension off of Durfee and off of the work of the TLEs and the Evolve program.
One more brief question. So just for me to develop an image on what Evolve looks like, are they in separate classrooms? Are there classrooms with just Evolve going on? I'd like to maybe observe that class in action, just to get a better idea, to visualize it and see it in action, and figure it out.
They occupy a whole wing of Durfee, where all of their resources are in that wing, but also close enough proximity-wise that if students are taking classes in the traditional high school, they walk through the gym and they're right back in the traditional community. So
Dr. J, if I were to phone the school some days, according to my schedule, which is pretty busy, but if I say, well, I'm free on such and such month, would I be able to go visit the school and check the Evolve program out?
we would love for you to come visit.
Okay, thank you very much.
I believe the protocol in our policy manual is to contact the superintendent. Superintendent, then we'll just notify them, so superintendent's aware of when we're going in as a practice.
That's fine.
So we're looking for a motion to refer this.
Motion to refer.
So made, second by Mr. Corey, all in favor? Aye. So moved.
Would you like a full presentation at the school committee meeting?
I would.
Okay.
And I think the online, pilot or whatever you guys are doing with that, at some point we need that maybe to come back to us. But
Yeah, we will, I think, we will.
They're doing a lot of different things, so I appreciate you coming back. It's just that I think it helps to get buy-in and everybody's gonna be on the same page as it gets done, so. But I think the whole committee should kind of see what's happening there, and because of the grading, it could be more questions. Next item. You have, what is the PASS program? Is that a new grant?
We could shift that, if we could take our community partners next.
Sure.
If we could go with Katie Brown, the Katie Brown Educational Programs. So tonight, We are presenting 2 of our community partner programs, and this will be the last of the 2 of the year. We've heard from a number of them over the month of August and September, and so Katie Brown and the Children's Advocacy Center are here with us this evening for us to take a look at the work that we've done in the last school year with both organizations, and as well recommending that we contract again with these organizations as we move into the 2025 school year. And so with that, we would like to ask that our partners from Katie Brown share with you some of the programmatic outcomes, for Katie Brown, and a little bit about the organization and the work that we've done this year in our schools in partnership.
Great. So my name is Claire McVicker. I'm the executive director, and this is Angela Marable, and she is our program director. So thank you for the opportunity to invite us to this meeting, share more about the work that we've been doing in your schools. The Katie Brown Educational Program was founded in 2001, shortly after the murder of Katie Brown. And our mission is that we send our educators into schools and we deliver an evidence-based prevention education program. In helping to young people to navigate and have healthy relationships, and just to raise awareness around unhealthy relationships, to also talk a lot about abuse and violence in relationships so that they're aware of that. In addition to that, we connect them with community resources. We make sure that young people have additional information that they're looking for, like safety planning or some other additional resources if they're in a violent relationship. So we've been in your schools for the last 22 years, and we've been doing programming with your students. Our educators, we have a team of 4 full-time educators who go into the schools, and for example, when we're in your schools, we go in on a Monday, we meet with each classroom every single day, and we finish up on a Friday. We are different than other agencies doing domestic violence work or sexual violence prevention work because we do our groups in small settings, and so in classroom settings. We don't go into an auditorium of 400 students and talk about dating because we know that the information is not going to get to them. Or we know that, maybe there's a little bit of information, but when we have young people in front of us, in front of our educators, and we have 30 young people having conversations about relationships, about violence, about things that they see when they're watching their friends' relationships, things they see on TV, there is a lot of really important life skills that your students walk away with. And we know that we're really making a difference. So in the last 23 years that we've been doing this work, we have been able to increase our programming every year. We reach students in grades 4 through 12, and we can share with you too that we have been in every single school the last school year, every single school in your district. So I'll turn it over to Angela to talk a little bit more just about our work last year and kind of our numbers, and then we'll answer any questions.
Yeah, so we reached over 3,000 students last year. We were in every single Fall River public school. And again, 4th grade through high school. Something that we had done 2 summers ago is we took evaluation feedback from students and teachers, and we took those recommendations to make our curriculum stronger. So we took that input and added in topics that students were interested in learning about, suggestions that teachers made in making our program more inclusive, and just make it more interesting for your students. And so our current curriculum as it is, while it is still evidence-based, is also informed by the experiences and interests of Fall River Public Schools students, which is actually really unique. So our program has evolved a lot over the years. So currently where it stands is with our 4 educators this past summer, we got them training on ELL instruction. So our 4 educators, they're not formally trained necessarily in teaching or education, but have that professional background. But the ELL instruction is something that we were noticeably lacking just as the dynamics and classrooms change. And so our educators have been given professional development on how to make our program more inclusive for students who are learning English. We've also received training on
how to make our program more inclusive for neurodivergent and students with disabilities. And so we are planning on using all the information that we received and implementing that in our program to make it a more inclusive experience for all students.
I would also add a few other things, pieces of this too. Last year, we had an opportunity, I think it was probably January last year, to meet with the team from Katie Brown, with Dan Fitzgerald, the Director of PE and Health, and myself. As we looked at the effectiveness of the work, we were looking for pre and post-test data so that we could really generate an understanding of what are our kids learning as a result of this partnership, and are they walking away with stronger insights and gains of knowledge, recognizing just the challenging times that we live in, and that, you know, dating violence lives all around our kids, and so we really want to be certain that the programs that we're providing are getting them the information that they need. And I was really great to see that this year when we came back together at the table late August, early September, in preparation for this year, that the team at Katie Brown really did take a lot of our recommendations to heart and really moved on them over the summer. 2 of them that the team just spoke about around meeting our MLL students, as well as our students with disabilities needs, and the professional development that their educators underwent was really, you know, impactful for us. As well as, if you notice on some of the feedback slides, we have begun to also generate some student surveys at the end of every session and generated some data from that. And beginning this year, in planning with Dan Fitzgerald, we are also going to be taking it one step further so that we will have the Katie Brown folks join our PLCs and professional learning time prior to coming into the classroom, so that our educators who are there can be co-facilitators and be there to support in a more active way than they had in the past, simply because they are now aware of what the lessons are going to look like and where there is an opportunity for them to co-teach or co-support if for whatever reason the topic is too much for the teachers to step in and support. You know, everyone's got their own threshold and we want to be respectful of that, but we certainly want our teachers to know what is going to be delivered in the class. And so through this collaboration, we are excited and hopeful that this will just help bridge and build the program to another level. But we were happy to see the response that Katie Brown came back with this year.
So Dr. B, are they being taught in health classes?
It's a staggered schedule at the high school. It is through health classes. At our other schools, it varies, and it really becomes building specific depending upon the class, depending upon the schedule, and building principals work with Katie Brown to set up that schedule.
So when you said ELL, so you have different languages being presented in some of these, so our minority kids are understanding what's going on.
That was part of our work that we just did this summer, was we were able to translate all of our curriculum and all of our classroom materials and parent handouts into Spanish, and we're working on finishing out our Portuguese translations as well.
As far as the curriculum that you guys are espousing, I'm somewhat familiar with it from a long time ago when I was counseling, and I sat in on a few sessions. And I know it was a small group setting, and it was really good discussion going on in the session. So it begs the question to me that after you guys do your work in a school, if there's a presenting issue with a student or two, is it then referred to a school adjustment counselor for further action on the school's part? Do you have a relationship with the SACs in our schools?
I have a relationship with some of the school adjustment counselors because those are the people that I schedule with. But they do know that at the end of programming, if there is further information or if we can be of more assistance, we can help support a student that has, or there's a concern that comes up. But we do not typically, once we are done with our programming, we typically wouldn't assist or touch base again unless we were asked or unless it was requested.
Yeah, I get that. I just want to know, like you're having some pretty heavy discussions about violence prevention and their behavior, and so it makes kids sensitive at that point, you know.
Sure. And we trust that schools have those systems in place because before we schedule with any school, we send out all of our information. These are the topics that we are going to be discussing. So teachers will have the heads up and know what will be, and actually a lot of the teachers that we see year to year have seen our program many, many times. And And so if there are issues that present themselves after we are there, we do trust that there are systems in place to support those students.
Okay, thank you, I yield.
And just also for just recognizing is that Katie Brown also offers professional development and partners with us at all of our resource fairs and where we have tabling events to be out there as a community partner. Something I was just gonna say. Oh, and as of just even last month rather, at our first Family Academy event of the year, where there were over 100 families in attendance, Katie Brown was the co-facilitator for us, where we looked at bullying prevention and educating our families around bullying prevention and ways that they can partner with schools and support their children. So we do see other ways that Katie Brown steps in to help support through professional development in the community as well and in the schools.
So I need one more question before you. One more question for you guys. So in your active work on campuses, are you affecting female or are you affecting male, or are you seeing some even affect across that? Who's being affected more deeply?
More deeply? That's a really good question. I would actually say that across the board, it's really even. Our program is inclusive in such that students of any gender can benefit and do benefit from it. We don't necessarily target just female students or male students, and a lot of kind of like antiquated programs do that. They'll separate out males and females and give one talk to one group and another. We don't do that. We've never done that. We will never do that.
It's a safe haven for them to present.
100%. So the discussions that we have are really unique because we do create those spaces where students feel comfortable to share and discuss their relationships, or even discuss stuff that's happening among friend groups or family, and that's really powerful because we don't necessarily see it be very lopsided, where it's a lot of girls that are mostly talking about this stuff. We do see a lot of our non-binary and male students discussing things that concern them as well. And what is really satisfying is at the end of programs when the students are realizing that they are in relationships or friendships that are potentially toxic or unhealthy. And we've seen that across the board, that it's not necessarily just girls who are having those realizations, it's also boys as well. And so I would say that it is probably, I would say girls are kind of more conditioned to talk about relationships, love, dating, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and so that is naturally kind of how it can skew, but I would say after a couple of days, the discussions are open to everyone and the contributions are really, really strong. I would say in our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, the participation is very, very even.
Thank you.
Sure, I'd also say that a lot of times too, you have young men or young boys who also will come up after the program and just say like, thank you, nobody ever acknowledges that like this happens to us too, or my partner was really emotionally violent to me, but a lot of times we're when we think about violence or dating violence, you're just thinking of like physical or sexual violence. So we do a really good job of making sure kids have a knowledge and a really good understanding of all the different types of violence.
Yeah, I value the program. I think it's a great program. I appreciate the fact that kids can present safely, and try to deal. Thank you very much.
Motion
Motion approved.
Motion on the floor? Motion on the floor, right?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor, aye. Vote so voted. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I could just ask that we at some point get a one pager about how does all of these programs interact with their curriculum within the school, because they're different, but there's things that we should be implementing in our regular curriculum. So maybe a future meeting with Mr. Fitzgerald might come to. Next.
If we could speak with the Children's Advocacy Center. So the Children's Advocacy Center is a program of JRI, which is the Justice Research Institute, correct? And we too have had a contract, but not for as long, since 2019, with the CAC. And I will take this opportunity as well to ask our partners here, speak a little bit about our partnership and the work that we do together to support the students and families of the city of Fall River.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm Laura Stone, and Kathy Rutowski and I co-direct the Children's Advocacy Center. We appreciate committee members being here with us tonight and allowing us to speak. Dr. Curley, thank you. Dr. Bronner has been our connection in the last couple months getting ready for this meeting and answering any questions you have. Just in summary, as Katie Brown shared about their mission, we, the Children's Advocacy Center is our Bristol County CAC is one of 900 across the country. There's one in every county in Massachusetts. We are Bristol County's response, so we are Fall River's response. We're actually located here in Fall River. We were founded in 2007. Fall River is among our most, unfortunately, active jurisdictions, and we partner in many different ways, but our mission is to provide support to children and families who experience child sexual abuse, physical abuse, and witnessed violence. We have 3 prongs to our mission. The first is we provide the investigative process for children or a family that is referred by 51A to the CAC for a forensic interview or need for response to service. We also do mental health clinical services on site at the CAC, and that's a bit newer for us. That started happening in 2018. Many of them that come to receive those mental health services are Fall River Public School students. And the third is we do educational services, and so we go in and support young people in your district as well as professional development for youth serving organizations, for your teachers, for your school adjustment counselors, for detectives in the Fall River district. We do that for all 20 jurisdictions, but specifically we're here tonight to talk about and answer any questions you have about our work. Kathy and I were just going to split up a little bit of our content, and I will just give you some, I know there's a lot in front of you, and we have our impact report. Dr. Bronner gave you an overview. So we've been around for about 17 years. About a third of our referrals come from Fall River, and that's the DCF office that serves the greater Fall River area. We don't break down our numbers by just Fall River Public School students, although if we delved into it, spent a lot of time, we probably could, but we do it by jurisdiction, by police department, and we do it by the DCF office. So you have a sheet of data showing all the way back to fiscal year 2008, how many referrals were made to Fall River, how many interviews were done. You can see as time has gone on, we have every year almost 300 referrals that come from Fall River Public Schools or greater Fall River area. And we are conducting those investigative services on site at the CAC. We do that in partnership with the District Attorney's Office, interviewers, our pediatric sexual assault nurse examiner works with the Department of and every case receives a teamed approach so that we're not re-traumatizing the child through that experience. If they have to interview once, everyone is sitting around and teaming that case around the table. They're watching it on similar to a television behind you, and they can let the forensic interviewer know what they need. So we are for sure in deep partnership with you. We work with your school adjustment counselors to receive some of those referrals, with your SROs in every school. We team those cases, and we feel really confident about the work that we're doing together. I'll let Kathy just say a bit about the education and outreach piece.
Yeah, I think that part is probably the area that we've partnered mostly. I mean, of course, when kids have a report of child sexual abuse, physical abuse, or violence, they come into our center. But the work that we've really done with Fall River Public Schools is the work that we continue to do with Claudia and her amazing team, where we partner and we're doing PD development days. We're training in lots of different curriculums and recognizing and reporting how to do that, how to do it effectively and efficiently. We also have commercial sexual exploitation of that's another area that we cover. So kids who are being victimized through child trafficking, we we train our partners around those efforts. Digital responsibility, how to help parents and teachers manage online and be safe and help them understand what they should be watching for and looking for with their kids. And we also do those lessons for kids as well. So we've done a lot of partnering the last, not this year, but the last 2 years, we've done some work with Project Red and Black at Durfee, which was an amazing experience. And I hope that something like that comes back, but it was a service learning project where we had students come in and work with our team and really understand the mission of what we do and really got behind the idea of spreading awareness around how to keep kids safe in the community, and they really embraced the opportunity, and the feedback that we received from not only students but the teachers that were partnering with them was amazing. Tabling events, we're going to a number of open houses this fall, and we're gonna set up shop and make sure we bring all our gadgets, our gizmos, and get all the important prevention material out into the hands of parents who need it, and to help educate as best we can. So the numbers continue to rise in Fall River, and so we're grateful for the increased support and funding that helps us carry out this important work. And so I'll say just real quickly, in addition to our education and outreach, we do mental health counseling on site, and we're a resource for Fall River Public Schools. We get tons of calls. We're always responding to teachers or administrators or counselors asking about how we can help support a need that they have. And so we recognize that while kids may not always come through our door for a forensic interview, they still might be victims. And so we are going to do our best to help support those kids get access to mental health services in a timely fashion, because we know wait lists and things like that are incredibly long in the community. So happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Corey.
Sure.
That was a good summary of the report. So I'm concerned. I'm really glad you have a great relationship with Claudia and our SAC staff in Fall River. I know it's an important resource. As far as your mental health counseling piece, is that one and done, or is that ongoing clinical help? Because I know that we're always looking for other agencies to help us with our counseling.
And so that's a really good question, and counseling can never be one and done, but I'll say this, we're a small organization, we're a small operation, and the door doesn't close for us, right? There are kids coming through our door every single day who need services, and we're gonna be one of those agencies that, unless we put some really concrete goals and objectives to help support kids get the work that they need, will become a program that has a long wait list. So we really try to structure our work to be really trauma focused. We have some evidence-based treatment interventions, some that are very short term, and we do that deliberately because they're effective. And we know that if kids and families get the services they need, sometimes they only need 5 to 7 sessions to mitigate PTSD, for example, right?
Sure.
The onset of symptoms that could provide long-term difficulties. So never one and done, and but we can't be the type of place where we have kids in therapy for
Okay,
years.
so that's the question. I know that we triage a situation in the school, and so you're triaging it again according to the trauma in that case. And then, do you have a referral base of other counselors that you could refer off to?
Yes, excellent question. Because before we ever had counseling on site ourselves, we relied on that. We relied on our providers in our community. So we have lists of providers in every county in every city and town in Bristol County, programs that we've worked very closely with, and some who will elevate our kiddos to the top of their list because we've provided training to their team in the past, and so we definitely will provide connections if it's not something that we can provide.
The other question I had was based on the Red and Black. The Red and Black program, True. Is there any chance of that coming back at all? What kind of work were the Durfee kids doing at CAC?
Well, they came in, they had to sort of select an organization, right? They kind of like were provided a bunch of community-based organizations and had to sort of match up with an organization that actually they related to and come up with like a service project, if you will, like how they were going to learn what we did at the CAC and then take that learning and increase awareness in their school system. So sometimes that was through like community, like school fairs or through.
They produced a video.
Oh, they produced a beautiful video. Yep.
And actually, they went through the CAC and did a mock. Like we created a mock forensic interview so they could see what really happens when a child comes in, what they have to say. We have an AIDS assistance dog now, so they got to see what, like the last group got to see what the AIDS assistant dog does and how he now participates in forensic interviews.
And they met with police and the district attorney's office and were able to ask all kinds of questions.
Yeah, it's
I
way
think
to
the question though is this not existing anymore?
It does not currently exist. Last year it did not exist. However, there was some staffing was reallocated in different courses and departments, so we weren't able to run it last year or this current year. But I really believe in the value of the program and service learning in general.
Yeah.
So can you please get us a one-pager on that, because quite frankly, we didn't know that it wasn't existing. So if we don't get told things, we just assume things are gonna continue. So it's a little disheartening to hear about that now, and if we didn't know about it, I apologize, but like I thought it was existing, just not necessarily at their site. But you're saying it hasn't existed anywhere, so I think that's the point. It's a good program. We should figure out why we're not doing it.
Absolutely. It's a great internship thing, but it could motivate kids to get into that as a career. Were they doing any forensic studies at your agency regarding black kids? No? Nothing that heavy?
No.
No, of course not. I was just curious.
Just their own sort of take on how they can contribute to prevention and making their class or the student body more aware of this issue and the mission of what we do, prevention. We did quite a bit of around sexting, and that is one of the things we do is, as Kathy was saying, one of our education and outreach initiatives is that digital responsibility component. We are in and training thousands of students because we do these large auditorium style presentations to talk about do's and don'ts and the use of smartphone technology.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Just for the committee's knowledge, we are requesting a $10,000 increase to the contract with the CAC. In years past, it was $45,000, and we are requesting that it go up to $55,000 as we look across all of our contracts. As you can see very clearly, the numbers and the need in our community are not going down. If anything, they're going up. And as it relates to just the increased partnership that we've experienced with the CAC, the amount of professional development that they have provided to both staff and families, as well as the direct care to our students and families, we are making this request for this coming fiscal year of the committee.
Motion to refer?
Motion referred, seconded. The only comment I would make is the same one I made earlier. I would like to see between now and the full meeting, what's the rationale for the 55, which I appreciate, you're trying to make incremental gains here. But when we look at all of them, I think we need to look at it and say, well, why does one get 95, one gets 125, one gets 55? So I think they're all worthy programs. I know this is a worthy program, but I struggle with why does one get 55, one gets 120? So whatever you can do to try to clarify. But all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to me in the effort of
Thank you for the work you guys do.
Do I see two job descriptions that are one item?
They're not one, they're two different items, but I think those could just hopefully move along pretty quickly. The attendance officer job description in front of you is really just been created as at the request of the current attendance officers. We have 7 attendance officers in the budget, one of which spends all of his time at the courts. Kevin Whiting is up in the courts, and he is our court liaison attendance officer. And the purpose behind that is so that when we have kids that are taken to court, that we don't have our current attendance officers being pulled off the work and being pulled out of schools to go sit in court and wait for court to happen.
Yeah, that's a bit more, that consolidates.
So this just really spells out the work of the court liaison. And one of the big reasons for this move is that Kevin graciously will be retiring the end of October.
Right.
And so as we look to replace him, we wanted to be certain that there was a job description that spelled out the duties of the court liaison that are different than that of the attendance officer.
Yeah, plus our court liaison could develop a relationship
Yeah.
with all on staff at the courthouse. I think it helps the process move along even better.
So you'll see here the changes and the edits that were made. We're sharing it here for your review, but hoping that it can be referred to the full committee
Yeah.
for approval.
Motion to refer.
Motion referred by Mr. Corey, second by
Second.
Ms. Pereira.
Yeah.
Just a question on why, like, so this already existed,
No, it didn't, not as a court liaison position.
so why is there changes then? It's like-
Because there was an attendance officer job description.
Which
So we took the attendance officer job description and made edits and left the edits for you to see how we were making the changes.
basically one of the attendance officer's jobs, Kevin, is to sit in the courthouse all day. Like there's one attendance officer that they need to assign that task to. So instead of calling them an attendance officer, she changed the name to more, I think, accurately describe what the position would be, because now Kevin's retiring, we're hiring somebody, we want them to know they're not gonna be a traditional attendance officer in the school, they're gonna be an attendance officer, court liaison, and they will be reporting to court and having to do that.
I just think that
So-
it's existed for a number of years, so I think we probably were in error in not doing this earlier.
Yeah, probably.
So my thing is just, when you go to the full committee, make sure that it has all like required qualifications, for instance. It always says superintendent may waive one of the requirements as long as they notify the school, little,
This isn't the teachers union, so.
what I'm saying is any job description, you wanna be able to make sure that you've got the flexibility to say whether it's, something needs to be waived, or even just what was the rationale for some of these, so the full committee will be helpful to get a quick one pager on why are these things Xed out.
And along those lines, I was wondering, Dr. B, if candidates, the upcoming candidates, Madam Superintendent, would they be from our own pool of attendance officers?
Yes, for this particular job, yes.
So,
That is our expectation. We're not looking to hire from outside.
yeah,
This would be an internal movement into this role because they already know the district, the systems, and the work, yes.
good, thank you.
Which item 3 says a minimum of 2 years, that's new, because it's highlighted in yellow. So,
A minimum of 2 years as an attendance officer in
oh,
the
right,
district,
that's
correct,
new, so
yes.
that's why,
Correct,
that's why,
that's why it's yellow.
yeah, just before you get to the full committee, sometimes these things don't go without some questions you hear and just throw a paragraph together, so let us know. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So voted, thank you.
Similarly, you'll notice the next job description is for that of the community facilitator translator position. As you know, we have community facilitators in mostly all of our schools. As we look at the needs at PACE and as we look at the increased needs for both the written and the oral translation, we see an opportunity within the community facilitators themselves to really build up a translation department within the district. We also have some community facilitators who would be very much skilled in this work and would love to be doing this work and be essentially like mobile translators to support schools, so that if a need arises in a building, we're not relying on Lionbridge as the only translating tool, but really being able to meet with the human element of it. And so as we look at this job description, again, looking to adjust some of the work, but really looking for us to enhance the translation work in the district by leveraging currently funded positions. And so you'll notice again the qualifications and responsibilities for this job description.
How does this relate to the community facilitator job description?
We've adjusted the community facilitator job description to lean more heavily into translation
This
services.
is one position or all community?
One position.
So the only thing I would ask is that whatever is added or different, you mark it up so the same, because people can have that question of what is different between this and the other one. Can I get a motion to refer?
Motion to refer.
Motion to refer, second, all in
I think
favor?
this is great.
Aye, opposed, so voted, thank
So
you.
smart.
So now we have, I will say for me, this is some of our most exciting additions for the night. So if I could ask Claudia to join the table, as well as Sherry Ellis and Mary Gustav. So why don't we start with the PASS program, and then we will move into the mobile health band presentation.
Can I just say, I don't want to rush anybody, but we want to be out here on time because we've got some places to be. So what I would think is that this would be one that would go to the full committee for a presentation. So just understanding that as we present, so to give us the quick overview. I'm sure that we're going to be supportive of it, just that you're going to be able to present in a greater depth at the regular school. My
So
goal is
we
to
will
be
go
out here by 6:15.
We will go slide by slide at the regular school committee meeting of the presentation that you have in front of you. But this has been a long-standing project for our department prior to my stepping into this role. The team of Claudia and Drew and the former assistant superintendent for social emotional learning began to explore positive alternatives to school suspension. And as a result, we were able to identify a program up the North Shore as well as a program on Cape Cod that offers students an opportunity to receive education and training and support, mental health supports in lieu of being suspended from school. And so I will turn this over to Claudia to give a brief summary on our proposal for a PASS program here in the city of Fall River.
Sure, I'll be really brief. We are really excited when we saw what the North Shore was doing and what the Cape is doing, and making sure kids, when they're suspended, are just not home or in the streets, but yet connected with adults. Getting connected with resources is at the core of what PASS is. So they're meeting with a licensed clinician and doing a lot of group work as well too. The hope is really to connect with kids and figuring out what's going on with them, how can we support them, and also getting them connected with resources if they're not already. So with this program, it's in lieu of them being home suspended, they'll be going to this program where they'll be connected with a clinician, an SEL liaison, and an ISL as well too. We're also looking to partner with communities, partners as well too, who've been helping us with this work. As well too, and a lot of groups, a lot of individual, but the biggest piece of it is really getting them connected with resources. But then a lot of work with them when they're ready to return to the sending school. So coming up with a plan, so that way figuring out, well, what was it that led you to get the suspension? What can we do differently? Really having a service plan to support them when they go back to that return to school as well too.
So this project will be funded. We are partnering with the Boys and Girls Club as a location. So for students at Durfee High School, so we've applied for the opioid funding grant. We've gone through the competitive process with STAR as our lead partner in this work. We've been able to partner with STAR, who will be able to provide a clinician for us to really get after some of the drug use, recognizing we did a hard look at all of our suspensions from last year at Durfee High School, specifically short-term suspensions. And that would constitute anywhere from 1 to 10 days of suspension. And so the goal is working in partnership with Durfee High School and Diamond Regional for year 1, that students will have an opportunity, instead of being suspended, they would go to the Boys and Girls Club for the day. The program would run from 9 to 2. They'll be given breakfast and lunch. There will be no more than 12 students enrolled on any given day between Durfee and Diamond. And students will have the opportunity to attend therapeutic groups with the clinician. Will be supported and sponsored through STAR, really looking to get after and support students with recognizing some of the root causes of their substance use. As we looked at our suspension data, we had a large number of students being suspended, in many cases even multiple times, for bringing drugs or low-level drugs to school, tobacco, marijuana, vapes to school, and getting caught in school. And so right now, we don't have alternatives to school suspension, so kids get sent home back into those environments where they're more likely to use and be connected and not connected to school and not connected to resources. I think it's also critically important that we recognize that the city of Fall River does not have any youth services for substance abuse and substance use, and our prevention tools within the city are also very much non-existent. So we are thrilled that through the competitive process the community and the stakeholders at the table that also had their own RFPs at the table supported our work and understood the efforts that we're trying to create here so that we can support and educate our kids. And to Claudia's point, also provide those wraparound services as well as to the kids, but also to the families. And so we are grateful and we are excited to tell you that we have been awarded the grant. We have come out on top and we've been awarded the grant by the city. I believe it was just last night, the city council, I believe, voted to agree for the RFPs to go through and those awards to be rendered. And so what you'll also see is as we look forward to now begin making movement on this program, you see 2 job descriptions in front of you. One is for the past social worker, so we've written into our budget 3 positions, a social worker, an instructional support liaison, which will be the person collaborating on the academic work that kids are doing in the program, because it's not just therapy. They will be getting their academic work done as well in the program. And so those 2 positions, we needed to make some adjustments to the job description because the work that these folks will be doing is very different than the work that they do within the public schools themselves. And so you'll see the 2 job descriptions, one for the social worker who will be the administrator in the program, as well as the instructional support liaison. And then the 3rd position is that of the SEL liaison, but we did not feel we needed adjustments to that job description. So we've now made some adjustments. Again, we bring those before you. We will need these adjustments in these positions so that we can post to be able to get the program off the ground. Ideally, by the end of November, beginning of December, it is our goal to have a PASS program up and running at the Boys and Girls Club here in Fall River.
That'll be downstairs.
And that'll be downstairs.
Downstairs at the Boys and Girls Club. So that sounds really, really good. I fully support it. Just wanted to know, let's say Durfee suspends a kid for 3 days. So that 3 days, that child's gonna go to the PASS program.
In partnership with the parents have to agree, but they would then attend the PASS program instead.
Parents have to agree. Parents don't agree, then that kid's just.
And that kid just gets suspended. So I don't believe most parents, but we're very optimistic to think, and based on our conversations with the North Shore and Cape Cod, very rarely are parents not agreeing to send their kids to the PASS program.
So when, in the past, when a child was reprimanded and got a 45-day out of school placement, would have to send the kid to Brockton or elsewhere for a 45-degree period. Does the PASS program support anything like that?
No, this is a 10-day short-term suspension intervention.
10-day, that's
not a long-term
so
suspension.
it's based on all our suspension stuff, whether it be a 3-day or 5-day or a 10-day suspension.
But not a 45-day.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Need a motion to approve any 2 job descriptions.
To refer.
Motion to refer both and the 2 job descriptions. Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you very much.
Sorry to make you guys wait so long, but it is an exciting
Last item, the mobile van.
The mobile health van.
Okay, my name is Sherry Ellis, I'm the CEO for STAR, and really excited to be here, both for the PASS program and for this initiative. I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest version because I know you guys have had a long night. So Senator Rogers called me a year ago and he said, Sherry, I want you to take this money and I want you to go in and create a health center at Durfee High School. And I've had this money, he appropriated the money for 2 full years in the budget and it's never come to fruition. And he said, I want you to make it happen. Now, I just want to make it really clear that initially, I was aware that Health First had wanted to put in a health center at Durfee. And I just want to say to you that I told them before I'd accept the money, I had to talk to Health First to make sure they actually weren't going to touch that. And Health First had decided to go with Diamond. I called back the senator, he said, the money's for Durfee. So I again made another phone call to make sure that we were on the same page with our community partners and started to look at the space at Durfee, but the space that was being offered was not really licensable. We never would have gotten a license. So we have a brand new mobile health unit that was coming to us that was being funded by the state. So we talked about this and we decided that this was a great alternative. It could be parked right in front of Durfee. The van is easy to license, we could be up and operational, we could accept the money that the senator was going to give us, and the money lasts from now until the end of June. It's one-time funding and we can staff the van as for all operations. We spend that out by the end of June. I do have a plan for sustainability around looking at third-party revenue, making sure that we can do that. I believe that this van is going to be something I can also get foundation and other grant money for to sustain in future years, I won't need as much as he's giving me now, because I'll be able to roll in some third-party revenue. But it's a very exciting thing. It's things that are happening all over the place. For Durfee, it's the perfect alternative. It can be parked, we actually checked it the other day. It can be parked right in the front of the school, which is adjacent to the school with the nurse's office. We've been meeting to talk about this for several months now. I've already been able to secure a family nurse practitioner who's interested in doing this work, which is really exciting. She is a woman of the BIPOC community. It's kind of up and moving to the point where we believe that we can get it activated relatively soon if we have everyone's permission. If you look in here, I put a list of the services we'd be providing. I also put, you know, the details on funding. There's a picture of the mobile unit. It is a fully outfitted medical mobile unit. They're doing them now in 16-inch box trucks, 16-foot box trucks, so that they can come in and put everything in there, including a full exam table, a sink. It is fully, it has solar power, so that we'll have full connectivity, and it will basically function as though you had a clinic parked, a true clinic with all facilities parked right in front of your school. So it's a very exciting proposition, and I am thrilled, especially after sitting here tonight and hearing everything that you guys do in Fall River for your students. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you for the presentation. How
Yeah.
excited are you? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'm excited,
Motion to approve, seconded, all in favor?
You know, I just get a sports physical,
I
you know, hide
suppose.
these things off for parents,
All in
And for
favor,
kids.
thank you.
especially in this community. This is great.
Yeah, this really is.
Great.
Does anybody have any new business? Hearing none?
Absolutely.
Get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded, all in favor, aye. Opposed, so
Aye.
voted. Thank you all so much
Benedict.
for all your great work.